What's going on, guys? Welcome to another Doctor Who review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 11th Doctor Matt Smith story, A Town Called Mercy from Series 7. This is a story that I feel gets forgotten about quite a lot. I mean, Series 7 on the whole is one of the weakest, if not honestly the weakest series of the new series in my opinion, and from what I've heard a lot of other people's opinions too. And there's definitely not a whole lot of great episodes in there. A lot of just kind of mediocre average sort of things and a couple of real duds. But I even before reviewing this, I felt like A Town Called Mercy was one of the standout stories for this series, but even then doesn't really get talked about. I'd honestly say that the only story that really gets talked about much from this, I mean maybe two, is probably Angels Take Manhattan and Name of the Doctor. They're really the only ones that get talked about a whole lot, so I thought, you know what, we're reviewing A Town Called Mercy this time, let's see what it's going to be like. So, let's start off with the cast. So we've got Matt Smith as the 11th Doctor. Now, I'm going to be honest, I think this is one of the best stories for the 11th Doctor, just in the way he's played. I think Matt Smith plays him brilliantly here, because he's definitely has his dark moments in this one, definitely. Some of the darkest stuff for the 11th Doctor and the Doctor in general. He really gets annoyed at Carla Jex in this one, you know, when he finds out who he is and what he's doing, and, well, what he's done, more so. And he goes full on anger. He just gets really angry, points a gun at him, gets really intense, and you're really thinking like, is he gonna shoot him? Is he actually gonna do it? And even he doesn't know himself. He says that he's like, I really don't know if I'm gonna shoot you. It's just a bit of a different side to the Doctor. I think Matt Smith's Doctor especially, he has these moments. He now and again, most of the time, he's kind of this uplifting, kind of funny, silly, way too ridiculously quirky Doctor. But then when he does have his dark moments, the 11th Doctor does have some really dark moments, and this is one of them for me, definitely. And yeah, altogether, I think Matt Smith's performance in this one is superb. We've got Karen Gillan as Amy Pond, who I also think is actually pretty good in this one. She has a very good moment, which we'll talk about in the good stuff later on, where, she, you know, in that same moment where the Doctor's pointing the gun at Jex, where she kind of talks the Doctor down from doing what he's going to do. She's like, you know, this is not who you are. We're trying to be the better person. You know, you can't... If you're going to shoot him, you're just as bad as him. And then she says something about, this is what happens when you travel alone for too long, because this is kind of the time, beginning of Series 7, where Amy and Rory are kind of spending a lot more time at home. They're not traveling with the Doctor all the time. So she's like, this is rubbing off on you. It's not... When you travel alone for too long, this is what happens. And we've seen this previously with the 10th Doctor in the likes of like the Waters of Mars and stuff like that. When he's alone, he doesn't have a companion, he makes bad decisions. And yeah, so altogether, I think Amy is really good in this one as well. Arthur Darvill as Rory Williams, he's good as well. I wouldn't say that he has the most to do in this story. I think the Doctor and Amy do shine a little bit more than Rory in this one. He's kind of just a tag-along, but yeah, with what he's got, he's always good. Alright, so let's get on to the good and the bad, starting with the good. The Doctor speaks hoarse. Funny little first point that I've made there, but, you know, when the Doctor's going to... Because when they get to Mercy... they find out about this Dr. Jex, and he's lying at this point, and he's saying, oh, I crashed down here, and my ship's so badly damaged that I can't fix it. So the Doctor's like, I'll go and see if I can fix your ship. So he goes around to his ship, and to get there, he grabs a horse, and, you know, the guy with the horse, he's like, oh, yep, this horse is called, I can't remember what it's called now, but it's called something or other, and the Doctor's like, nope, he wants you to call himself Susan, and he wants you to respect his life choices. And I just think that's really... It's just a really funny little thing. Funny little moment in this episode. I like that. The Doctor finding out who Carla Jex is was a really good moment. So when he gets to the ship, he decides to look through the files to figure out... Well, I think at first he's trying to figure out who the gunslinger is, but he can't find that information, so he looks up, okay, let's get some information on Carla Jex. Maybe that'll give him some information about the gunslinger, but instead, it gives him a lot of information about Jex, and, you know, shows his real side, that he basically created the gunslinger and all these other cyborgs to fight in a war, and then after the war, they didn't need them anymore. They basically just left them to die and disbanded them and didn't care about them anymore. So makes Jex and his people look like absolute dicks. And just that whole montage of that whole moment of the Doctor in Jex's ship, and you can see him looking at the computer screen, and it like has close-ups on his face, and you can just see the Doctor's dread, just like not dread, but just his anger, and his just, damn, I thought this guy was good, I thought he was doing a good thing. Obviously he's not, and it's just a really great little moment. The Doctor pulling a gun on Jex, mentioned this before. It's just a really interesting approach for the Doctor. He came back after figuring out who he was and kind of had a bit of a word with Jex and was very angry at that time, but it was really when Jex was like, you and I aren't so different. And he said something about, oh, I'm glad I wasn't relying on your people to help save my planet, or else we would have had no chance. And that really ticked the Doctor off. And that was when he decided to throw him out and pulled a gun to him and just said, just die, let the gunslinger take you. But then moving on to my next point, as I mentioned before, Amy telling the Doctor he's doing the wrong thing. Just a really good moment. One of the shining moments for Amy, I reckon. Really good stuff there. Great acting by Karen Gillan in that scene too. And yeah, just the Doctor's... And then when the Doctor realizes, he realizes that, yeah, he was wrong. He has done the wrong thing here. This is what happens when he travels alone for too long. And you can kind of see it in his eyes, like, this has happened before. Why am I going down this road again? And I just think that's just a great scene. Everyone painting the Carla mark on their heads to trick the gunslinger. I really like that little ploy, that little trick that the Doctor came up with. He was going to meet up with the gunslinger at 12 o'clock noon. Very, cliche for a Western sort of thing. But he decided, I know, that he's going to be looking for Jex. Let's all paint these things on our head, and he won't be able to figure it out. He'll get all confused, which he does, but then the gunslinger does eventually figure out, wait a minute, this is a trick, this is not right. But I like that as a thing. It was a nice little action sequence as well. I loved the standoff with the Doctor and the gunslinger. Maybe a little bit cheesy, a little bit cliche for that sort of thing, but I loved it when instead of pulling up a gun, he pulled up the sonic screwdriver and basically distracted the gunslinger with all the lights bursting, and yeah, just a really interesting action scene. I also loved, I didn't actually write it down, but all part of that whole thing, when there's all the people hiding in the church that didn't want to, they weren't the strong ones, they were the kids in that, and the women that didn't feel safe running around with these marks on their head, so they hid in the church. The gunslinger blows into the church, blows through a window or through a door, goes inside, he points his gun, and then he sees a kid or something, and he's like, no, I'm not going to kill. I mean, he just stops and then walks out and leaves them all to live. And at that moment you're thinking, this guy maybe isn't as bad as you think. He just wants Jex dead because of what he did to him, the actual guy before he became a cyborg. And that was a really touching moment there. He looks at that child and he just, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to walk out. I'm going to go do what I'm supposed to be doing here and just getting Jex. Love that moment. Finally, for the good, Jex realizing he's done wrong and sacrificing himself. So in the end, Jex does kind of have a full circle sort of thing. Because, it's interesting, and he says it to the Doctor at one point. He says, you can't get your head around the fact that I am who I am, created this monster, and basically killed all these people in the process, tortured them all for this experiment, but then I'm also the person that's come to this town, that's give them, all these, the electricity, the lighting, all these things beyond their dreams, way ahead of their time. You can't believe that I'm both these things. And then I love in the end how he kind of comes full circle and he sacrificed himself because he thinks, you know what, I'm not going to fly, because the Doctor's plan was go fly off to another planet and, figure it out yourself, but he realizes no, because if I do that, the gunslinger is going to follow me and it's just going to be more destruction on another planet. Another race, another species is going to get caught in the crossfire, and he realizes that's not how this should go. So he thinks, no, I'm going to sacrifice myself. And I actually really love that moment. I think it's a great circle round for Jex's character, and yeah, I think a brilliant end for the episode. So for the bad, I've just got 1 point, and it doesn't really bother me that much, but it is a little bit of a thing that I thought I'd put down. The gunslinger becoming the marshal, I think, is a little bit cringy. Now, I don't mind it as a thing. I don't mind it. I think it's okay, you know? He's got no purpose now. He can't go back to his home planet because he's a monster there. He's got nowhere else to go. He was just going to blow himself up now that all, Jex and that are dead. But then the Doctor's like, why don't you protect this town? So he becomes the Marshal, the one protecting the town. And I like that, but at the same time, it is a little bit cringy. It is a little bit weird. I don't know. I don't hate it, but yeah, I don't know. I don't love it either. Alright, so a rating for A Town Called Mercy. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. For me, I mean, this is the first episode of Series 7 that I've reviewed so far, but I can fairly safely say, I think, that this is my favourite episode of Series 7. It used to be The Name of the Doctor, but I think I prefer A Town Called Mercy now. I mean, the first time I watched it, I gave it like a 7.5. The last time I watched it, I gave it like an 8 or an 8.5, and this time, I've given it a 9. Every time I watch it, it keeps going up because I'm like, this episode is just good. I love the stuff. I love the chemistry between the Doctor and Jex. It's this really interesting chemistry and just an interesting story, interesting characters. I think Isaac was a really interesting character. Although we only saw him for like 15, 20 minutes when he died, you felt something because he seemed like a really nice guy. And yeah, I just really enjoy this episode, honestly, for a just kind of mid-series kind of, fill-in sort of episode. This is definitely one of the best. So, yeah, a 9 out of 10 for A Town Called Mercy. So, let's go to the TARDIS box of episodes, see what we're going to be reviewing for the next video. Alright, we've got the TARDIS of episodes here. Let's have a little shake to mix them up a little bit and pick one out now. I still don't know what I'm doing, whether I do I can have the same Doctor come up 2 in a row or not. I really don't know, because I don't really want another Matt Smith, because this is the third Matt Smith episode now. We've only had one of each other Doctor, so I think for now, if we get a Matt Smith, we'll skip it and we'll do something else. But yeah, it's really a little bit random, to be honest. I just want to have a bit more variety, So I'm gonna grab this one right here. What is it gonna be? Time Heist. Okay, we've got another 12th Doctor episode. Another one from Series 8 as well. So we've had 2 episodes from Series 8 now, because we did Into the Dalek. Actually, just the video, or the review before this one. So now we've got another 12th Doctor Series 8 episode, Time Heist. So that will be the next new series review. So look forward to that in the next few weeks. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, links in the description below. And I'll see you guys in the next video.